Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to one more session of the Lisbon Talks. This one will be a Lisbon speed talk, really speedy, which means it will go along for 30 to 45 minutes. Now, today, my name is, some of you might know me anyway, my name is Rui Cardoso. I'm a journalist from Express, and I'm trying to moderate this session. This session is about water. This session is about water resources, water management, sanitation, and when things start going to go wrong, about hydro diplomacy, how to settle conflicts between neighbors, between people regarding the management of the water resources. So, with us, we will have Mr. Loic Fauchon, is the president of the World Water Council. He will address you in English, which is the official language of the Lisbon Talks. He will make a short speech, and after that speech, or during that speech, as you wish, you can use the comment box to ask questions, which once the speech is done, Mr. Fauchon will answer them. So welcome once again, and Mr. Fauchon, the floor is yours, please.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Portuguese and Lusophone friends. I'm very happy to be with you today and very honored. And thank you again for your invitation. Today you have chosen the subject of water. It's an essential subject for our planet. Water is our future, and the future of water is the future of mankind. Today, in many parts of the world, water is in danger, and this should concern us, concern each of you. And because when water is in danger, humans and nature are in danger also. Our world is in a constant crisis, and the current health crisis is only the latest in a long list. And during this endless pandemic, we have learned that water is the first and most effective barrier to protect ourselves from the virus. But water scarcity is also at the heart of food crisis and diplomatic crisis. We must agree that water and energy have become precious resources, often scarce and difficult to access. Water is now an essential element of geostrategy and, as such, a component of water politics. This is the reason why we must pay particular attention to its presence or absence. Access to water is a universal right, and consequently, we have personal and collective duties towards it. This is the whole issue of what we call water security. Water security is threatened for various reasons. I will quote them briefly. The first one is, and the most important one, is demographic growth. It's a fact that the growth of cities, the rural exodus, and galloping urbanization are the first signs of a lack of water for several billion of human beings. And urban concentration and construction, industrialization and intensive agricultural production, they have contributed decade after decade to the pollution, which is poisoning rivers and aquifers worldwide. And so water is lacking in many places in quantity and quality. And then, after that, the climate evolution, after the demographic problem. We need to explain that very precisely. Today we have the demographic problem, and then after we have the climate evolution, which are strengthening the need of water, and this climate evolution is an additional threat to water. So we know, facing these big problems, we know that we must increase the availability of water resources, and that at the same time we must consume less and better. On one hand, find more water, on the other hand, consume less water. This is very clear, but not so easy to implement, as you can imagine. And now we have a new merging obligation to share water between man and nature. This is new. Just 20, 30, 40 years, due to the environmental research, which has shown you we have to let some water for nature, which is not understandable in the 20th century. If we do not guarantee the permanent availability of water, we run the risk of condemning entire populations to exclusion from equitable and sustainable development, and of devastating the natural environment for a long time to go. So it means that our priority is water security for us all and by us all. So water scarcity is also at the heart of food crisis and diplomatic crisis. But we need to say a few words concerning the solutions. Concerning the future, to be very clear, we have three pillars to build what I call usually the house of water. The first one is knowledge, relies mainly on innovation. And water security must benefit from technical and then more and more from digital developments. For example, desalination and seawater using reverse osmosis is implemented in now more than 70 countries all over the world. But today, the big progress, the new revolution, will be the reuse of wastewater, which is also a major step which will gradually become widespread. In Singapore, for example, more than 20 years, river water has been mixed with water from wastewater coming from treatment plants. And it works very well. In Tunisia, in Morocco, golf courses, gardens, parks, and soon farming fields are using wastewater effluents since a lot of time. In Europe, it's more difficult because we have regulatory obstacles. Digitalization in all kind of field of water will gradually enabling farmers and citizens to monitor their consumption on a daily basis. And I would like to pay tribute to my friend Rigodino. Congratulations, my friend, if you are listening to me, for your re-election at the presidency of HADPA. But Rui says me often, we need to develop a real culture of water innovation. And this is a very good idea, a culture of real innovation. And this is true for the situation in the Iberian Peninsula. And I will say a few words concerning that, but I will say that we call for a blue-green economy. We need water for energy and energy for water together, with parallel objectives. We are looking in the next years for the best win-win mix tomorrow. This is the only realistic and efficient way to achieve the decarbonization of essential services for the population of our planet. This is the first pillar, innovation. Second pillar is obviously financial. Situation could be summed up by water is short of money. Water is short of money, but money is short of water. And what can we do to avoid this? To devote more money to access to water and sanitation. In terms of financing water, water is lagging far behind energy, and a true blue finance must gradually emerge to take its place among responsible bonds. To the green bonds must be added the blue bonds, which will complete the family of environmental bonds. And we could also talk about the idea of the principle of sub-sovereignty, which is very important for poor countries, which allows a city, a region to get some help without the authorization of the state. That's a very important problem, but I don't want to enter in the detail. So this brings us to the third pillar, governance, the third one, which must guarantee equitable sharing and total transparency. The time of water centralism is over. Water governance must be effectively shared between the state, first level, with the basin, second level, and with the local authorities, municipalities, or mancomunidad in Spanish, or intercommunality in English. And so Portugal has adopted this kind of governance in 2005, I think. So this three level of governance has proved its worth, and this is all the value of water. But I mean not the economical one, the social and ecological value of water could be imposed in the public debate. I am talking about ecological and environmental value, because we have understood that nature needs water, and that we need nature to protect water. And so I would like to underline two main issues before answering your question. The first is that we have all over the world important lack of water, from winter to summer, from rainy seasons to dry seasons. So we must rethink the concept of dams and reservoirs. The ecologists criticize dams, which are too powerful, too violent, display population sometimes, and assault nature. They're right. But we need storage. Otherwise, man is thirsty, and nature as well. We think, and I've been advocating for this for several years, that there is a need to evolve from the concept of dams to the concept of aquatic water reservoirs, which are above all a means to protect biodiversity. From here, we see that an aquatic water reservoir, it protects ecosystems first, and it also benefits mankind because it allows us to fight against thirst. So Portugal has since a long time put in place adapted response in accordance with the Iberian geography. The ministry, national agency, basin authority implement the river reality. and you have developed a multi-municipal systems also, which drives to the governance between Águas de Portugal and more than 30 municipalities, which is particularly original. It's a good example for the world. But what is even more original, seen from the outside, from my point of view, is the organization set up before and after the Albufeira Convention in 1998 to ensure the governance of cross-border water management between Spain and Portugal. I would like to highlight the experience of the Guadiana River Basin and the Alcueva Reservoir. I know it has been very difficult and a very long experience to build it, but today, for us, for the water community, Alcueva today responds to the concept of what we call the aquatic reservoir. So, why? Because we can ensure the water of today for tomorrow, produce energy, fight droughts, limit floods, and above all, to protect biodiversity upstream and downstream. This is an example of what we call on everyday hydro diplomacy, which consists of sharing scarcity, especially. I would like to say a few words from your minister, João Pedro Matos Fernandes, who said the response is more demanding because our two countries may simultaneously be experiencing a situation of water stress. So we hope that Portugal will be able, and I know that Rui Godinho he is working for that. Will drive to the next water forum in Dakar, in Senegal, in March 2022, that to show the Portuguese response. And the second issue I would like just to mention before closing my speech is the right to water. The right to water. Right to water is a complex right, very easy to proclaim, but difficult to enforce and to concretely implement. For more than 20 years, we demand, I demand as President of the World Water Council, that every human being should have access to abundant quality water at a price acceptable to the poorest. The inclusion of the right to water in constitutions, the existence of free minimum allowance or social tariffs are some of the many possible solutions, and the answer are always political. And we must, it's our duty, we must demand them. So as you understand, water is politics. Water is politics. And it is through the commitment of all that we can put end to water suffering. This is the role of our World Water Council, but also the role of all of us, all of you, to make the thinking of water evolve, to make it progress beyond the rights I've just mentioned. Our duty. This is our duty, our many duties as citizens. So join us to contribute. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Monsieur Fauchon. Now, I must remind the audience that you can send your questions either through YouTube or Facebook, whatever, and we'll try to summarize them and ask them, send them to Mr. Fauchon. Meanwhile, while waiting for your questions, I might after what Mr. Fauchon said, I might somehow ask three things to Mr. Fauchon in order just, let's say, to start the debate. Now, the first has to do with something that happened a few weeks ago. We saw the Suez Canal be blocked by a super container ship. Years before, we were frightened about disasters with oil tankers like Amoco Cadiz or Prestige or Exxon Valdez. Question is, should we really worry about super tankers now and super container ships now? Is this a real threat we should worry about, Mr. Fauchon?
Do you want to ask 2 or 3 questions, and
I'll ask two other ones. Okay, the other question will be this: the old wars used to be about petrol. Should we fear that the new wars can be about water? And last but not least, it's maybe a more specific question, but you said that's important when we think about water management is knowledge, new technology. How can we address a dreadful problem with microplastics, which are very common in subterranean water resources and very, very difficult to treat or to manage? So maybe these 3 things for a start, if you want.
Okay, there's some links between these 3 questions.
Of course.
I'm not a specialist concerning the situation of the ocean and seas, but concerning the super tankers. Look, what happens 2 weeks ago in the Suez Canal shows that we are on a very dangerous way. More and more larger tankers, now 20,000, I understand, containers on the same ships. So this is not acceptable for the future. We need, that's the same answer than for the microplastics. We cannot agree to develop ourselves the poison of the humanity, or have more and more super tankers, super cargos, super cruise boats also. Look what happened in Italy 15 years ago. So I think we need an international treaty to limit the importance of the sea transportation. Concerning the microplastic, I will be back to the water wars after. Concerning the microplastics, that's the same. And we are very late, but because you know that microplastic and no microplastic, we have in the Atlantic and in the Pacific Ocean, we have a sort of huge island of plastics. And microplastics are entering in all kind of nature life, and for example in the fish. And so we know that today in all kind of fishes in quite all part of the world, when we are eating fish, we are eating plastics. And so it will take a few decades. I'm not very optimistic. Concerning the transportation, it needs an international agreement which could be founded in just a few years. Concerning the plastics, it will be more important because the situation in the Asia-Pacific region is more dangerous. And you can see that this huge amount of plastics is more important in the Pacific Ocean than in the Atlantic one. Concerning the water wars, I would like to say I would like to answer through water peace. Water cannot bring wars. Sometimes we have tensions. One important example at the moment is the tension between Egypt and Ethiopia concerning this very important dam, which is called Renaissance Dam on the Nile, on the Blue Nile. And it shows that if there is no dialogue, like you could show between Spain and Portugal by the past, if you do not have any dialogue, you are moving to attention. Concerning this very important problem on the Nile, on the Blue Nile, my personal opinion, I'm following very closely this issue. That the World Water Council has been involved in different negotiations by the past, for example, between Turkey, Iraq, and Syria. This kind of negotiation has to be very confidential. The problem with this tension between Egypt and not only Egypt and Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, etc. You have not to go to Moscow or to Washington to discuss. You have to discuss in the region with some professional negotiators. I think on that situation, they are obliged to find an agreement. So we do not have to talk about water war. We have to say, how will we find the water peace?
Okay, we got one question which exactly relates to that. How do you see the situation, the tension between Bangladesh and India concerning the sharing water resources? Are you that also between India and China, or between Pakistan and India? How do you see those very specific questions?
You want to you want a diplomatic incident between the World Water Council and these countries. Again, very seriously, again. Dialogue. Look, there's a very, very difficult situation, between Pakistan and India since now 60 years. They do not fight about water. They have tensions, but they always have discussions. You never have a military battle. You never have had a military battle concerning water, because they discussed before. There are other issues to fight, but not concerning water. With China, it's more difficult. The main problem is not water between India and China. We are discussing with both governments. More important is a problem on the Mekong River, which came from the Tibet, which flow in China, and after in Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam. The problem is due to the importance of constructions of dams all over the Mekong River. And we will have problems in the future because there's not, that's our opinion, sufficient interlinked interaction between the different dams. They have an international organizations concerning the Mekong River, but as they have constructed too many dams by the past, the recent past, they will be in front of more problems in the future, and they have to enter in a bigger capacity of dialogue.
Now we got a very different question which concerns the pandemics. The question is something like this: what impact can have the current world pandemic on the management of the water resources? What impact can we expect from that?
It's very complex question and very complex answer. If I am really looking at the situation of the water resource all over the world, the pandemic has no consequence on the quality of water. The water is not transmitting the COVID. But two observations. The first is that we have used more and more water to clean our hands and to have more hygiene, and mostly in the poorest countries. because they did not have at the very beginning they draw alcoholic gel, or they don't have the mask at the very beginning. So it has shown to us that water was very important against this pandemic, as others by the past. The second remark concerns the effluents. Our effluents are going to treatment plants or to networks or directly in the rivers. And so we have seen, we have constituted since 1 year an international group of analysis, which is driven by our Turkish colleagues. And it shows that you can check in the effluents the importance of the pandemic. If I could say the example of the city in which I live, Marseille, south of France, we are able at the moment to understand how the COVID is moving in the different areas of the city. More than that, in a building, and more than that, in each level of the building. So it's very important progress, not only for COVID now, but for next pandemics which could come in the future of the humanity. But the management of water, the quality of water resource at the moment is not concerned by the COVID.
Okay, more questions. Now, one of them has to do with the following: how to conciliate the pillar of knowledge with broader stakeholders' participation, how to disseminate this knowledge to guarantee informed and effective participation. So it has to do with, in a way, the democracy of water.
Is that question concerned specifically a region? It came from Portugal or from abroad?
No, generally speaking.
Okay, generally speaking. In my life, as my friend Rigodino, I have been a mayor. And so I've been participating to local democracy. Water needs democracy. Water needs transparency. More closer you are from the inhabitants, from the citizens, from the consumers concerning the management of water, more you are efficient. That's not easy for some governments all over the world to understand that they need to have a governance closer to the people. That's the best. Portugal is a good example since a couple of decades. You have a good balance between the role of the state, the role of the basin authorities, and the role of the local communities. When you are a mayor, you need to are permanently open to the dialogue. And concerning the issue of water, you have to be completely transparent on the quality, on the price, on the tariffication, on the social tariffication. If you are very open with your population understand that there is a democratic management of water. If not, you could have, and if the price of water has no social component, you could have very important tensions, disputes, and sometimes water riots in a few countries in the world. So my personal experience as a mayor and part of my life I have been in the local authority management is that water has to be a priority subject and a very open issue to discuss with the population.
Okay, thank you very much. For the time being, we have no more questions. the time we had for this speed talk is more or less done. However, we still have time if the audience wants for one question, two questions, or otherwise we can close the meeting. So let's hope this is like the British pubs. Last orders, please.
So waiting for the last order. Let me just tell again that we will organize with our Senegalese colleagues the next World Water Forum, which is the most important event on the field of water. We will organize this forum next March 2022 in 10 months, and with our friends from Dakar and from Senegal. We would like to have due to the situation now, we hope it will be okay to travel and to be hosted in a few months. But I would like to say on behalf of the Senegalese government, on behalf of the council, that you're welcome to this forum. For the Portuguese community and Lusophone community, it's not so far, and bring the Portuguese solutions, bring the Portuguese response to this forum. You have to be proud about what you have done in Portugal and in other countries, in other Lusophone countries. So show us the good stories that you have to talk about water in quite 1 year in Dakar. You will be welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Fauchon. It's like a song we have in Portugal from a great poet and singer called José Afonso. It's called "Bring Another Friend Along with You." Traz outro amigo também. So it's a great way to say goodbye. Thank you, Mr. Fauchon. Thank you to the audience. Hope to see you soon and well, obviously. Bye.
Thank you very much.